Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. I'm a 16-year-old girl, unsure if I'm handling the situation correctly. Here's the backstory behind my upbringing. My mom, 32 female, had me just when she was 16. Unfortunately, my mom made it clear from the beginning that she wanted nothing to do with me. When she turned 18, she gave up all her parental rights and walked away. I must admit that my birth was not something my parents had planned. They were only teenagers and faced the daunting task of raising a child without the necessary resources and support. To complicate matters further, my dad, now 33, had already experienced the heartache of being kicked out by his religious parents due to the shame they associated with having a child out of wedlock. It was an incredibly challenging time for him. Despite the challenges, my dad was responsible for raising me independently. He took on the role of both parents. It wouldn't have been possible without the incredible support he received from his big sister and a few caring neighbors. They stepped in to lend a helping hand. They offered their support, creating a makeshift family that was a lifeline during those challenging times. Throughout the years, my dad tried reaching out to my mom to build a relationship between us. He made countless heartfelt efforts to bridge the gap and unite our family, hoping to allow me to have a relationship with both parents. Despite his unwavering dedication, my mom consistently showed no interest whatsoever in being a part of our lives. Her absence left a void that my dad worked tirelessly to fill. He became my constant source of love, support, and guidance. He attended every school event, cheered me on during my accomplishments, and wiped away my tears during the tough times. He sacrificed his needs to ensure I had the best upbringing possible. Now, out of the blue, my mom has suddenly reached out to me, expressing a strong desire to reconnect and establish a relationship. She wants to spend time together, have lunches, and embark on outings as if the past never happened. I must admit, her sudden interest caught me entirely off guard. After all these years of her absence and her apparent disinterest in being a part of my life, it's difficult for me to understand why she has chosen this moment to reappear. I turned down every request from her. I've grown up without her presence. I have made peace with that reality over time. I've learned to find strength and happiness in the loving support of my dad and the wonderful people who stepped in to fill the void left by her presence. Turns out the reason for her reappearance in my life and her sudden interest in me is because she married a few years ago, but then she went through a tough time last year and had surgery for ovarian cancer. A total hysterectomy, I think, which means she can no longer have any biological children. Now she and her husband suddenly want me back in their lives as I'm her only chance of a biological child. To make matters worse, they threatened to sue my dad for full custody. They are wealthy and believe their financial advantage will tilt the case in their favor. I can't bear the thought of losing my dad, who has been my rock through thick and thin. He has sacrificed so much for me, and I can't imagine my life without him. These findings significantly hurt me as they implied she only wanted me because of her condition. I've rejected them time and time again, but yesterday, she called me crying and said I was being insensitive, that I need to let bygones be bygones and be there for her now in a difficult time. She said she did the best for me by letting my dad be the only parent, as she knew she was never gonna be a good parent anyway. The decision to abandon me was done in my best interest in mind. I'm not entirely sure I believe that, but then again, she was just a child too. It's a difficult situation and I don't know what to do. So Reddit, I need your honest opinions. Am I wrong for not wanting to be close to my mom, who abandoned me and is now seeking a place in my life again? I would appreciate any advice or insights you can offer to help me through this challenging situation. Update. My mom and her husband filed a court case to get custody of me, but it was thrown out and wasn't granted a hearing. My mom and her husband are getting a divorce because her husband's side of the family doesn't support the idea of him marrying someone who could never give them a grandchild. I guess she won't be wealthy for much longer. My dad and I are quite happy and we are now considering my college options. So there it is, my update. Thanks guys for your lovely support. Your mother had a chance to grow and develop a relationship with you, but she threw it away multiple times. She doesn't deserve you in her life if she only wants you in her life for a reason. She should love you unconditionally, without reason, just like your dad has been doing all this while. I'm glad their case to sue your dad for full custody got thrown out. Your mother deserves everything she's going through right now. They are the consequences of the decisions she made and the actions she took. I wish you and your father well, OP. Take care. Story 2. I married my late wife 8 years ago. I was 26, my wife was 31, and she had 2 children, a 14-year-old boy and a 13-year-old girl. I of course tried everything I could to try and bond with them when I met them, but they were uninterested. Their father had left when they were younger and had never bothered to reach out again. I think they still held out hope for him to return. When I had been in the picture for a year, their general unwillingness to bond with me turned into open hostility towards me, and at moments, I even considered divorcing my wife because I was done dealing with it. Regardless, I kept trying my best for a few more years. However, I eventually more or less gave up on ever having a good relationship with them and sort of settled with hoping for them to at least treat me in a normal way. When they went off to college, it was more or less done, I guess. They would both visit a few times a year, during which I would make myself scarce, because despite the open hostility being gone, they were both still extremely passive-aggressive and would make any underhanded, insulting comment they could just to make sure I knew I wasn't really welcome, I think. When my wife died, it was completely unexpected and devastating for all of us. We miraculously managed to get along when arranging her funeral, and the financial side was easy because she had a will. I made sure they got everything they were owed, which was nearly everything apart from my wife's share of the house, which went to me since we bought it together, and of course I let them pick out what they wanted from their mom's stuff, apart from stuff that was important to me. The engagement ring I gave her, our wedding rings, but mostly sentimental stuff. It has been a little under a year since, and I am doing a lot better now. The very odd thing to me was that her kids suddenly seemed more interested in a relationship with me, which, as you might imagine, was not something I was particularly interested in after all these years. Regardless, I felt responsible to an extent, so kept in contact, be it very limited contact, near exclusively initiated by them. My late wife's son rarely contacts me, but her daughter has been doing so more and more frequently the past few months. Some weeks she even called me daily, and she has even come by to visit, which was odd to say the least. She has flunked out of college and showed up asking to move in. I told her that the entire time I have been in her life, she has always been hostile, rude, and downright terrible to me. So I'm not sure why she thinks I would be willing to house her. If she needs help, she should ask a brother. Again, she seemed surprised and started crying and begging even more. I sent her off and closed the door. She has since apparently rented a room in a nearby motel and has been blowing up my phone and begging me to change my mind as she has nowhere to go. Am I being the a-hole here? OP, honestly, I completely understand how you feel. She's not a child, she's an adult. And she and her brother chose to not want a relationship with you. I don't see why you would have to take her in. It would be different if you were actually close, but it just seems like she wants to use you. Has she even apologized for her behavior? Seriously, it's up to you. I can't imagine losing my mom, and she feels like she can't turn to her brother. It must have taken a lot for her to actually come to you and ask for help. At the end of the day, it's all up to you whether you want to help her out or not. If you feel incredibly uncomfortable about letting her move in, then how about you secure her accommodation somewhere else? Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. But if you want to, you can find her a new accommodation and tell her to get back to college. This is what a parent would do, but even God cannot help those that can't help themselves. Rent a place for her for a few months, tell her you will support her and guide her, but won't help her beyond 6 months. Do this to honor the memory of your wife. Not the a-hole. However, you're likely a remaining reminder of her mother and someone she gravitates to. You have no responsibility for this girl, but I guess if your wife was still alive, how would the conversation go? Personally, I would try to support her and find ways to help her even for a short time. It sounds like she has no one to turn to. It's okay to be the better person. She was a child at the time. No a-holes here. You're not obligated to let her stay with you, and you're obviously not ready for that. But man, you've been given a new opportunity here. Don't throw it away. Don't hold her to something she did as a kid, and as you yourself said, was confused and hurt and didn't have the tools to cope with any of it. She appreciates you now. She wants a good relationship with you now, and I get that you're still hurt. But as the adult in the situation, I would at least consider giving her a second chance. Story 3. My daughter, Molly, 13, plays football. That's English football, soccer by the way. For a team, and they train every Sunday. She has been playing for years but has only been with this team for a few months. Molly loves football and is very talented, and her coach Chelsea is very pleased with her. However, on the team there are a group of 5 girls who don't like Molly. They all go to the same school, and their parents all know each other, and as often happens with teenage girls, it gets quite cliquey and territorial. This group see themselves as the real team and pretty much only work with each other during matches and don't support anyone who isn't in their group. Molly has been told by this group that she isn't welcome. The worst of them is a girl called Amy, a talented player but really dislikes Molly for some reason. She has made Molly cry before and has only gotten worse after being told by Chelsea to tone the mean girl stuff down. Today was a big match and Molly scored what turned out to be the winning goal. What should have been a happy day turned bad when Molly came out of the locker room in tears, saying that Amy and her friends had hidden her stuff and that Amy had told her she was useless and only on the team because Chelsea felt sorry for her. Chelsea found the stuff and had a word with Amy and her mom, saying that any more bullying would result in her being kicked off the team. This made Amy cry, and Amy's mom then had a go at me, saying Molly needs to grow up and accept what she calls typical girls teasing each other. I know the difference between teasing and bullying, and as an adult, she should too. The thing is that if Amy gets kicked out, her gang of bullies will still be there. And I can't imagine it would be much fun for Molly if it was there. Chelsea has said that she would be willing to kick out Molly's group as well if they cause trouble, as there are enough girls trying to get a place on the team to replace them. But I feel like that would cause problems down the line, especially with the other parents. Molly spent most of the day crying, and due to that I'm thinking of pulling her out of the team. She loves football and is good at it, but if she's leaving something that she's supposed to be having fun in tears, then we have a problem. We can find her another team since there are loads out there. The only problem is that I feel like if I pull her out, she may come out feeling like she was the problem and that she's being punished even though she's the victim. Especially since Chelsea is willing to deal with the bullies once and for all, so it seems like we are letting them and their parents win. Molly does have friends on the team and would miss them if she's made to leave by me. Would I be the a-hole if I pull her out of the team? Now for some comments. You would be the a-hole. Football, soccer, is a team sport, and if those 5 girls aren't team players, they should go. Sounds like Chelsea was ready to kick them off the team already and sees this situation as the perfect opportunity to cut them from the team. Molly deserves that spot and to stay on a team with her friends. If Molly wants to leave the team, I would let her, but it should be her decision. You would be the a-hole. If she wants to leave the team, then let her, but do not pull her out when she doesn't want to leave. She will take that exactly as you said, as if she's being punished. On top of that, it will teach these girls that they can behave like this and win. If I were her, I would get all the girls kicked off the team for being horrible bullies. Good riddance. She has the opportunity to do that, so don't force her to just run away. You would be the a-hole if you pull her out when she doesn't want to be. Let the bully brats face the consequences of their actions, and perhaps your daughter will become good friends with the newer girls brought onto the team too. If the parents have a problem with their kids getting kicked off the team, that's their problem, for not disciplining and teaching their children to not be bullies. Besides, who gives a damn about what shitty parents think? Shitty people will always look down upon weak, nice people or try to take advantage of them. You wouldn't be having this problem in the first place if they were good people who you should care about.